In today's video, I wanted to shed some light surrounding some of the confusion related to issues with the intervertebral discs, mainly the myth of the slipped disc. Hello and welcome to the Back Pain Guide. I'm Duncan, a former sufferer of debilitating back pain, now turned physiotherapist who focuses on the care and treatment of people, maybe such as yourself, who also suffer from back pain. The advice I give is a mixture of my professional expertise and personal experience, and I really focus on trying to share information that I wish I had known when I was suffering from back pain. In today's video, I wanted to shed some light on some of the confusion relating to issues of the intervertebral discs, those discs that sit between the bones of our spine. And the reason I wanted to make this video is because when I was suffering from back pain, this is something that confused me quite a lot. And I feel that if somebody had taken the time to explain it to me clearly, I might not have had so much fear, anxiety, and those catastrophizing thoughts that can go through our head when we are experiencing a high level of pain. So people experiencing issues with their intervertebral discs may experience pain and stiffness localized to the site depending on the location of the disc, of the affected disc, whether that's in the neck or the back. They may also experience radiating pain down the arms or the legs if that disc is affecting a nearby nerve root. And there may also be associated symptoms with that, like pins and needles down the arms or the legs, a loss of sensation in certain parts of the leg or the arm, and also sometimes people experience a loss of strength or muscular coordination or even reflexes in affected limbs. It's important to note that symptoms can vary widely between individuals, and some individuals experience no symptoms at all despite the presence of disc issues. To start with the most common area of confusion, I wanted to address the use of the term slipped disc, which you probably have heard used when people talk about their back problems. Now, although this term is used in common everyday language, it's definitely not a medically accurate term, and in my opinion, it can be quite unhelpful. This is because it often leads people to think that their disc has sort of come out of whack or slipped out of place, and all it needs to do is be popped back into place, normally with some sort of mechanical force, which is simply not the case. So in reality, discs don't actually slip out of place, but they can become damaged. And you may have heard terms like disc bulges, disc prolapses, ruptured discs, herniated discs. Now, when people use these terms, they're normally referring to similar things. However, these terms are often used in non-specific and interchangeable ways, which can lead to quite a lot of confusion. So just the briefest of anatomy lessons to help explain things. Intervertebral discs are the cushions located between the vertebrae, which are the bones of the spine. And they have a tough outer layer which surrounds a sort of more gel-like nucleus or a gel-like center. And discs provide shock absorption, support, and flexibility to the spine. So in my experience, it's most valuable and most clear to think of damage to discs in three distinct ways: disc protrusions, disc extrusions, and disc sequestrations. Now, I know those words are slightly unusual, but I promise all will be made clear. So a disc protrusion is the simplest to describe. This is where the outer layer of the disc bulges out slightly. So this is what people are often referring to when they talk about a disc bulge. So that outer ring retains its integrity, but it extends slightly beyond its normal boundary. Disc extrusion is where that softer inner gel-like layer leaks or breaks through the outer layer that has become weakened or damaged in some way. A disc sequestration is when a portion of that disc actually breaks off and separates from the main disc. That portion may then migrate away from its original location. A simpler and perhaps easier way of remembering these three terms is to use what I call the three Bs: a bulge, a breach, and a break-off. So a protrusion would be a bulge, a bulging disc. The integrity of the disc is still retained, but it bulges out slightly. An extrusion would be a breach. That's where the inner material has breached through the outer layer of the disc. And a break-off, of course, is a sequestration where a portion of the disc breaks off and migrates away from its original place. So I recognize it might seem logical to think of disc issues as a continuum of severity, with disc prolapses or bulges being the least severe and disc breakoffs or sequestrations as the most severe end of the continuum. Now, this is a logical way of thinking about it, and it may sometimes be the case, but it's really important to note that the treatment required for each of these issues will be entirely dependent on the person, the individual, and their specific symptoms. So it's entirely possible that someone who has a disc bulge may actually have symptoms that are equal to or even worse than someone who has a disc breach or a breakoff. So obviously I can't give you individual advice through this video, and if you are experiencing any of those symptoms I described earlier, it is recommended you speak to your healthcare professional so they can point you in the right direction of care. But I will add that although it can be quite scary to receive a diagnosis such as a herniated or extruded disc or a bulging disc, and sometimes the symptoms for some people can be quite severe and quite painful, the majority of disc issues can be resolved and treated with conservative management and don't require surgery. I hope you found that information useful. Remember, you have the power to take control and move towards a pain-free life. If you did enjoy the video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the Back Pain Guide for future videos and more valuable content. If you have any questions or suggestions for future topics, please leave them in the comments below. I'm here to support and guide you on your road to recovery. Thanks for watching the video. Please take care of your back, and I'll see you in the next video.